requirement. And as far as Arabic concerned, Arabic isn't necessary, but it's definitely a plus. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Yay. Wow!
You can hear me.
We can hear you. Colin, can you hear her?
Sure can.
Okay, I think everyone can hear Hannah, so we're going to go ahead and get started so that we're not delayed anymore. So I'll start off by thanking Vonvo for helping TYO in arranging this discussion. I think this is going to be a really great way that we in TYO can speak to our supporters and answer any questions that you may have. So I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Tala Saeed, and I've been with TYO for a little over 3 years now. I'm currently the coordinator for U.S. operations, and I just returned to the U.S. after living full-time in Nablus, and that's where our center is located, where I was previously the intern coordinator. So I know a lot of you are tuning in so that you can learn more about the internship program. So I'm looking forward to answering all of your questions, not only about the internship program, but also about TYO in general. I have 2 former interns here with me, Colin, that's Colin, and Hannah. And they're here to talk about their experiences as interns, and they're also here to answer any questions that you may have for them about the internship program or what life in Nablus is like. So you can type your answers in the text or questions in the text box throughout the call, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So I'll give you a little bit of background on TYO first, especially for our guests who are joining us and are learning about us for the first time. TYO was founded in 2007 with a mission to enable children, youth, and parents in the Middle East to recognize their potential as healthy, active, and responsible family and community members. So we at TYO are a non-political, non-religious organization, and we work with the most disadvantaged populations in Nablus, and most of which who come from refugee camps. We're essentially a community center that focuses on psychosocial, holistic, and a multi-generational approach to our programming. And I'll talk about that as we continue on. So all of the programming at TYO, really the heart of what we do is with our Core Child program. Our Core Child program is our early childhood programs for children 4 to 8 years old, and it's what we believe to be the core of our work. Our children will come to the TYO Center 4 times a week for at least 8 to 12-week periods, meaning each child will receive over 120 hours of programming during their time with us. These children participate in a wide array of activities led by teachers and volunteers who are trained in our holistic method of non-formal education. The way the Core Child program works is students go to different stations. So they start with storytelling, concentration, the imagination room, they're learning IT, sports, art therapy, ESL, and Arabic language instruction. All of our classes have psychosocial themes, and we're fortunate enough actually to have a fantastic psychosocial program manager, and she's actually the only practicing certified family therapist in the West Bank today. So we really try to work hard on having really strong psychosocial programming. Sustainability is really important to TYO, and as such, our Youth Service Learning program is also a cornerstone of the work that we do. University students across Palestine really lack sufficient opportunities to build their professional and parenting skills and to engage in the civic life of their communities. So these needs are directly linked to Palestine's stagnant economy and high levels of unemployment, which are preventing a lot of college graduates from finding fulfilling work upon their graduation. Palestinian youth require opportunities to connect with their communities, and at TYO, they can do so by directly serving the most vulnerable neighbors. Over 70% of the TYO team is actually made up of well-trained youth volunteers who participate in community service by working in the classroom alongside of our teachers. Our class sizes are really small. We like to have at least a 5-to-1 child-to-adult ratio in the classroom. And at TYO, we know it's vital that we engage the next generation of parents, these youth, in a powerful way in order to pursue our goal of improving the experience of childhood in Palestine. Sort of going off that, at TYO we also serve adolescents, 9 to 14-year-old age range. These adolescents that we serve require extra psychological support, and they often struggle to excel in school. Their psychosocial needs present a unique set of challenges for the typically rigid school system and the stress-rote learning environment that the schools present, and they're ill-equipped to provide additional support outside the classroom. So TYO provides classes that emphasize creativity and self-expression while teaching practical skills and ensuring that we maintain a balance between cognitive, physical, and artistic activities. We strive to recruit students in that age range who have been turned away by their schools or by their counselors or by other institutions, or those who are deemed as being too challenging or, problem children. While we do great work with children and their older siblings and the youth, we also know that in order to have really impactful change, we also need to work with mothers. The mothers are the main caregivers among the population we serve, making TYO a really multi-generational community center. So in 2011, we launched the women's group at TYO, where we offer seminars on health, domestic violence, parenting, children's needs, education, literacy, and women's empowerment. And these seminars encourage women to engage in dialogue on topics that are generally neglected in their communities. And so at TYO, women are provided a safe space and a platform to candidly discuss their thoughts and their concerns, and to build familiarity with local resources and organizations that can provide them with further support. So there's also non-formal education classes for these women, like fitness and nutrition and IT and English. They're also offered to participants of the women's group. To continue supporting women, we also have our women's entrepreneurship programs, where we're currently supporting women entrepreneurs in Nablus and in Lebanon. And we have our current program is called the Fostering Women Entrepreneurs in the Middle East program, or FWEMI, as you may hear us refer to it. It's supported by the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women. FWEMI supports female entrepreneurs in developing and launching their own businesses. So mentoring services and business development trainings are tailored to each woman's specific skills and project, helping the woman hone her business, personal, and practical skills throughout the program. The effects of these programs have been really great and really strong and very much twofold. First, women are better able to support themselves and their families by generating their own income. And second, they impact the larger community by empowering other women who can support themselves in return. So that's a little bit of the background of the work that we do. Like I said, I know a lot of you are here because you're interested in the intern program, and we'll get to talking about that in a minute. But first, I'd like to sort of open up the floor for any questions that have to do with TYO in general, whether it be our core child program or our youth service learning volunteer program or even our women's programs. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time to sort of type in your answers here or your questions, and I'll get to answering those before we start going to talk about our internship. Awesome. It looks like we have our first question. Is there room to expand the program to other areas in Palestine, such as other refugee camps and such? Yes, that is something that we really work on doing. Actually, I'd like Colin to do a little bit of talking about when he was an intern, sort of a program that he developed after his internship program, about how we reached out to other communities and other target populations in Palestine and other cities around the West Bank. Colin, do you want to talk a little bit about that program?
Yeah, sure. So, in general, the model is within Nablus, we're working with all of the refugee camps within the general vicinity, and the kids are usually bused to our center, and then they, whatever classes they're having, whatever activities they're doing, they do them at TYO and then they get bused home. I stayed on after my internship for another 3 months or so to help with summer programming. And what we did was essentially take the show on the road for the summer. So a couple days a week we would go into Balata or go into any of the camps or the old city, and we run all the activities for the kids there, which was great. I mean, it brought in a huge amount of more kids. Obviously, we're familiar with the demographics if you guys read about Palestine, So there's a huge population, and just the coordination and reach recruitment and everything else makes it difficult to get them all to our center. So I think at any time we can do the community outreach directly in their neighborhood, in their spaces, that's been very successful and a lot of fun. So I think those kind of creative ways of looking to integrate and expand program is generally a great idea.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. And, just to sort of go off of that, we do a lot of work mostly in the northern West Bank, and it is the most underserved areas in Palestine or in the West Bank. So cities like Jenin, Tulkarem, Qalqilia, Tubas, for those of you who know sort of the geography, those are the cities that we target with our women entrepreneur programs. So we're not looking for business women who, for example, in Ramallah have a lot of access to trainings and things, and to foreigners and to these kind of programs. So we definitely work with these people in the north. After Colin left, we wanted to continue his efforts in taking the show on the road, and we do a lot of work in the refugee camp in Jenin, and providing education and programs there. Ideally, yes, if we had the opportunity to have centers elsewhere in the West Bank, we absolutely would, and we would definitely have more programming if we could, but one day we will be able to. So the next question we have is, what are the activities learnings do you do? Okay, so we do a lot of different activities. It really depends on the program. I'm assuming you're talking about the program for children. Our programs for 4 to 8 years old are a little bit different than the programs for the 9 to 14-year-old age range. The 9 to 14-year-old age range focuses a lot more on sort of practical skills and ensuring that, like I mentioned, that there is a balance between cognitive, physical, and artistic activities. So there will be a lot of programming where we teach psychosocial skills, for example, teamwork, and teach it through sports, and teach it through art, and teach it through drama and music. So that's essentially how those programs work for that age range. We also really focus on ESL for that age range. As I mentioned, the kids in that range are really struggling at school, and so we do a lot of focus on providing them with ESL learning and sort of catching them up, because they're very, very far behind. We find that kids who have been in school for 6 years still do not have basic foundation for English. So it's something that we're trying to build and sort of step back and sort of fix. With the younger children, I mentioned the different rotations, but I'll say them again. We do things like storytelling, and that can be through puppets, through play. We have concentration corner, where children are able to be in a room and do puzzles and sort of hone in on those sort of skills. We have our imagination room, which kids really love. There's a lot of different toys and things for them to play with that really are fostering sort of that creative and imagination skills that they wouldn't otherwise have a chance to experience. IT, because a lot of our students come from refugee camps and all of them are disadvantaged populations, most of them don't have computers. So for a lot of them, it's the first time they're ever using IT or computer skills. Sports class, there's not a lot of safe places, if any, for children to play in refugee camps. And so by giving kids a space and a place for them to be able to play sports is really, really critical. And get their energy out, as you know, that kids can be a little energetic. Art therapy and ESL in Arabic, as I explained before. So Those are really sort of the programs and the kinds of lessons and activities that we do with our kids. Yes, confidence skills is huge. We work very, very hard on trying to build children's confidence, and it's confidence in everything, and it's for everyone. So we build women's confidence in themselves, on as being parents, as being mothers to their children. And we also work on building confidence among all of our populations and all of our beneficiaries. And we have seen really great tangible results. I'm sure Colin and Hannah will be able to tell you, how they saw confidence in their own students that they worked with in just a short period of time really, really blossom and grow. And I'll allow them to sort of share. Hannah, do you want to share a story about maybe where you saw confidence skills really change after that summer that you worked with students?
Yeah, definitely. I think one area where I saw a lot of confidence building was in my art and critical thinking class. I worked primarily with 3rd and 4th grade students, and a lot of them came in and they not only didn't really know what to do with each other, but they didn't really know what to do with this idea of art and building. And the primary goal of the curriculum was to redesign the city of Nablus. So to see how they were able to use recycled materials and able to really build upon seeing themselves as both learners, but also people that are able to have change. It was really great to see, especially the little girls and little boys work with each other, develop that social manner with each other, and then still build upon their own confidence in themselves.
Great. Just this last question here about experiencing problems transporting students in the West Bank. So actually, the transportation of the students is all within Nablus. So students are from Nablus and they've been living in Nablus in the refugee camps or the old city or the neighborhood that our center is located in. So we don't have problems with checkpoints or anything because there are no checkpoints in between their homes and our center. We very rarely take children outside of the city limits because we know that checkpoints can be a problem, and we never want to put children in danger or in a bad position. But on a daily basis, no, it's easy because they live in Nablus and our center is in Nablus. We don't bus children from outside into the city, so we don't have any problems, thankfully, with any transportation currently. So let's switch gears a little. We're going to talk a little bit about the internship program. I'll give you guys sort of a background on what the internship program is, and I know some of you have been asking questions already about the internship program, so we'll jump into it. Before we continue, I'll just remind you that there is a little donate button up here at the top that's built into this really awesome Vonvo platform. So you can support TYO at any time as we go through the conversation. It should be up here on the right-hand side, a little blue box. So the International Internship Program is a fantastic program for undergraduates, recent graduates, and young professionals who are really looking to gain field experience in international development, education, and in the nonprofit sector. So we're currently accepting applications for our fall internship program with a deadline that's actually coming up this Friday, July 25th. But we do offer internships in the spring and the summer as well. So if this fall isn't going to look good for you, or you have school or whatever, you can apply in our spring and summer programs. So I want to talk just very briefly about the program, and then I want to turn it over to Colin and Hannah, who will sort of tell you about their experiences as interns. So TYO interns work full-time with our local and international staff, and they're involved in a lot of programming. Depending on the skills, the background of the intern, as well as the needs of our beneficiaries, intern classes can include ESL classes for the core child program. Again, that's ages 4 to 8 years old, so doing early language learning. ESL and non-formal education classes for adolescents. That's the 9 to 14-year-old age range. So it's teaching ESL through play. Fitness and IT classes for women as part of the women's group. And our women in the women's group come from a wide variety of ages. Business, English, and IT for Flummy business women. And probably one of the most well-loved classes by interns is the professional competency course at An-Najah University. So our interns go to Najaf National University to teach a course. Najaf, for those of you who don't know, is the largest university in the West Bank and is ranked actually number 2 in the region. The professional competency course focuses on building confidence in English language, but also developing the skills in resume building and CV writing and interview skills. So it's really working with university students to prepare them for the job market that has been ever so competitive. So it's a really great class for interns to teach. I think they really like it. They work with people who are essentially their peers. And they find it to be really, really a great class, as with all of our classes that they teach. So each intern develops and implements their own creative lesson plans throughout the session, as well as informally acting as a liaison between TYO and the local community, because they're going out to the community and representing TYO, not just staying within the center. The curriculum is given to you, so no matter what whatever the classes that you're teaching, a very well thought out and thoroughly planned psychosocial curriculum has been created. So the intern's job is then to essentially work on creating lesson plans based on that curriculum. So the program dates are subject to change, but interns should expect to arrive in September and depart at some point in November. A reminder that the deadline is this Friday, July 25th. So we don't cover airfare costs as part of the internship program, but if you are selected for the internship program, we provide interns with housing, which is room and board, at TYO's expansive facility. We also provide multiple educational trips throughout the West Bank, and we also provide Arabic lessons with a private tutor. I believe there was a question asked about whether or not you need Arabic. We've had people who have 0 Arabic, we've had people who do speak Arabic, but Arabic lessons are provided with a private tutor as part of the internship. We work really hard to support our interns. As the former intern coordinator, I've seen a lot of interns come through, and they've all really said that we've given them a really robust and rewarding program. And I think that it's one of the most unique programs that we have. I've never seen anything like it at a different organization. It has a lot of focus, not only on the development work aspect, but really also with with sort of building professional competency skills for our interns who are preparing to fully enter the workforce at some point in their lives. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Colin, and then we can turn it to Hannah. And then we'll get to another Q&A session where I'll be able to answer all these questions that have been popping up about the internship program specifically. I'll give a brief intro to Colin. He is a former TYO intern from the spring 2011 session. He was then brought on temporarily for 3 months that summer to help us with our expansion programs after his internship ended. He'll definitely, hopefully, be talking about some of the soccer programs he started for youth and for children. He also came back actually last summer to continue working with TYO and to volunteer his time and sort of pick up where he left off in continuing with our soccer programs for kids. So, Colin, turn over the floor to you.
Hey guys, so I think if I'm not mistaken, Hannah's kind of speak more about kind of the professional development and how this program will serve you. I'm going to focus more on how you're going to serve kids out there in Nablus. To begin with, TY was run by a number of pretty amazing women. Tala, along with these 2 local women, Suhad and Patoon, who have, really been essential just for bringing the community in and managing things for years in a very selfless fashion. And then the head of the program in Nablus is a woman named Hamera, who has also devoted herself completely to the program. So I think it's a pretty special environment, especially in the Middle East, to see that kind of empowerment coming from women and leadership coming from women. So I think that's a big thing to take note of first. As compared to, I've worked a lot in development in different places, and now I'm in Washington, where there's hundreds of thousands of people working for NGOs and whatnot, but mostly just working on spreadsheets and things of that nature. TYO is you're directly involved in affecting people's lives and building relationships. I don't know that it can be more grassroots than what you'd be doing in Nablus, whether it's with children or with mothers. It's really a pretty special opportunity to connect with people on a very human level. And that kind of works in two ways. First of all, for the uninitiated, they get to learn about Palestine, and they get to learn what these people are like as humans beyond politics or newspapers or anything else you're going to read. You get to learn about people and their struggles and their hopes and their dreams, and kind of connect with people at a very intimate level. And they also get to learn about you, which is also important, because we're all prisoner to narrative and to what we are told, from books to everything else. And I think the opportunity to connect one-on-one with people and to be a face other than a politician really makes a difference going forward for the world in general, really. Beyond that, so in my personal work, when I first got to Nablus, I was primarily running what I call like a Big Brothers program. So it was with the adolescence group that Tala described, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys for the most part. And, a lot of these kids were kind of the rougher types, and a lot of kids that really struggle in school. So we built like a basketball and soccer curriculum that would kind of get them a place where they could express themselves and learn discipline as well, and learn self-confidence and teamwork and build each other up. And they were connected with students from An-Najah who were our coaches, essentially, and those guys could kind of be the role models for them. I've taught a good few times at An-Najah now, but public speaking and professional development that Tala was describing, which is also a really wonderful opportunity to connect with young, really talented folks out in Palestine that, again, these are people that you really don't have that many opportunities to come in contact with for the most part. And it's that was a really special time, and just to hear the ideas there bouncing around their own heads about jobs and about life and about anything. It's that was a lot of fun. I think the most fun I've had out there is my first summer. Then again, last summer I started a soccer league, both for boys of the adolescent age. So we had a league for 14 to 18-year-olds. We had a league for younger boys, and then last summer we had a league for younger girls, which was really fantastic. I don't think, based on, I don't know how much knowledge you guys have of cultural issues and social issues out there, but it's not always easy for girls and women to kind of find a space where they can participate in things like this. And it was amazing to kind of see them have that chance and to take advantage of it and to love every second of it, and to kind of enjoy that safe space where they could kind of grow up and just also be a kid, because like that's really important, just allowing someone to be a kid. That's a hard thing in Palestine. There's not always that much time to just be a kid, and I think that's one of the biggest things we can provide. Especially, I'm not trained as a psychologist like Suhad is, but I can make kids feel safe and happy and allow them to kind of work through their own kinks, as we all have when we're kids. So I think that's really special, and you get to do that every day when you're working out there. So I think it's a very diverse community that you'll have a chance to work with, from little kids to adolescents to university students to mothers, and it's a real diversity of experience for you as well. I think it's an opportunity to learn a lot about yourself, about what you want to do with your life and what means something to you. So in that, I think it's a really unique program, and I would certainly recommend it as much as I can.
Thanks so much, Colin. I'm going to turn it over to Hannah. Let me give a little intro on Hannah. She's also a former TYO intern from December 2010, and then she came back in 2012, and she'll talk to you about her time both those times. Hannah has done a lot of different projects and things and time with us. She has taught art and critical thinking classes. She's taught to university students. She's taught English to mothers. She taught young children, 4 and 5-year-olds during Ramadan. We did like a Ramadan art program for the youngest kids, and I'll sort of turn it over to her and let her share her experience.
All right, so my name is Hannah McIntyre, and as Tala was saying, I was at TYO summers of 2010 and 2012. And unlike Con, I'm going to talk more about the professional development aspect. So the first summer that I was in Palestine, I was fresh out of my first year of college, so I was really young, 18, a little intimidated by the fact that I was the youngest one on the intern team. But it was during that summer that I was really started to be introduced to this idea of international development work and nonprofit work. And like Con was saying too, the grassroots approach really stuck with me, and it's something that has really carried on into my work today. And so I want to talk more about how those experiences informed my career path. So I live in Rhode Island right now. I work for a nonprofit organization called Dorcas International Institute of Rhode Island, and I coordinate and teach in a family literacy program, which is actually really similar to the work that TYO does. So we work with parents, we teach parents English. I work with immigrant and refugee parents, and then we also work with their kids to ensure their success in school. So clearly something stuck with me from TYO. So my first summer when I was out there, I was learning how to develop lesson plans and learning how to really work with all age ranges. So as Tala was saying, I taught mothers, I also taught university students, I taught children. So working with all those different age ranges, you have to really draw on really different parts of your professional self. So working with kids, you have to be more personable. But working with mothers, you also have to be able to relate to them and see where they're struggling, but also where you're able to help them. And I think it was a really interesting contrast, the art and critical thinking class that I talked about earlier versus the professional competency class. With the art and critical thinking class, I was working all with the refugee children who were coming from the different refugee camps. And that was a completely different experience than going to An-Najah and working with university students. And even within that exchange, I got to learn so much from working with those university students who were my age, while also learning a lot from the youth, and even sharing that knowledge with the university students who often hadn't interacted with refugee youth. So it's a really interesting contrast where you start to learn how to negotiate that as well. And so one big area for me in particular that I developed at TYO was planning lessons. It's a huge part of my day-to-day job today. And I think it also applies to a lot of different fields. So even as Colin was saying with writing reports and whatnot, if you're doing nonprofit work anywhere in the US, being able to write a succinct report and being able to really draw upon those writing skills is really important. And I think that's something I did while I was at TYO, both contributing to TYO's social media presence and then also being able to really write these really detailed lesson plans for my students. Another thing that was really fascinating for me, and it impacts my work a lot today, was seeing how working with both mothers and their children could really benefit the family in general. So seeing how the children interacted with me in class and then also seeing how their mothers interact with me I was really able to develop those personal connections and really start to see how I was able to impact both the mother and the child. And that's just such a powerful model. And I think TYO does an amazing job with it, and they really foster your development, learning how to work with so many different generations. The other thing that I think, as Colin was saying earlier, impacted me as an intern was being able to work within the community. I think it's so important to get out of the building and so important to be able to work in so many different settings. So whether or not that's at the university or at TYO Center, or even being able to walk around and interact with people within Nablus, you learn so much about yourself, and you're also able to share who Americans are, and who you are as a person, or if you're from a different country as well. So I think it's such an important exchange, and it also really develops you as a person and how you present yourself professionally and personally to other people. So in summary, I think that everyone should definitely apply for the TYO program. It's absolutely 100% life-changing. And I know, at least from my experience, I would not be in the career I'm in today if it wasn't for my time in Nablus.
Well, thanks, Hannah.
Of course.
So I'm going to sort of turn over the floor for more questions. I'm sort of scrolling through some of the questions now. And you can direct it to me, you can direct it to Colin or to Hannah, or just a general question if you have one. One of the questions that I see popping up here is, do you have to be from the US? And the answer to that is no, you don't need to be American to apply for the internship program. We have had Canadians and Brits, and we've had an Australian, or she's from New Zealand. She'll be so angry if I said she was Australian. And what we do ask, though, is that you have English language fluency. We do operate completely or almost completely in English in terms of the internship program. Although you do work with people who speak Arabic, and that's great, you do need to be able to speak English fluently. There is writing and sort of blogging and that aspect of social media that you will need to be responsible for as an intern, and so that's very important to keep in mind. Other questions I see popping up is, do you help with job placements to college students? A lot of college graduates in Nablus actually have zero work experience or any volunteer experience, which puts them at an extreme disadvantage when they're looking to get jobs. And so while we don't necessarily, we do help with job placement if people are looking for jobs, and we can connect them however we can, we do try, but we do primarily believe in volunteerism, and believe that in order to have a job, you need to have some sort of professional skills before you start at zero. And so we do encourage youth and university students and recent graduates to volunteer in their community. Obviously, TYO is a great place to do it, but really anywhere they want to volunteer, we encourage them to volunteer. And yes, we do often hire a lot of our volunteers, and we do like to promote from within, and we believe in growing, and we're definitely a great center and an organization that definitely has room for growth. For example, I started as an intern myself as well in Nablus, and I was eventually hired to be intern coordinator, and now I'm in Washington and still working for TYO. Colin also was hired to be with us for that summer period. All of our teachers, our full-time Palestinian teachers who are with us, all started as volunteers as part of our volunteer program, as well as a lot of our Palestinian full-time staff as well, who aren't necessarily teaching. They also started as volunteers. So we definitely believe in the power of volunteerism and giving back to your community and working hard and doing well and success. And, we've had great success with our youth. A lot of youth have gone on to find jobs elsewhere, maybe that aren't at TYO necessarily, but a lot of people have reported back saying that their experience at TYO really helped them get a job elsewhere. And that transcends between the internship program as well as the volunteer program that we have for Palestinian youth in Nablus. The next question I see is, what is the age range of your interns? So that's a good question. Our age range of interns, like I mentioned before, we don't have a specific age. There's no age cutoff or requirement in that sense. I would say our interns typically range between 21 to about 27. We find that we do have a younger group usually in the summer because most students, university students, have off in the summer and they're looking to do internship programs. So it tends to be a little bit of a slightly older crowd in this fall and the spring, but we definitely have, sort of the early to mid 20s is typically the age range. But we have had interns who are 28 and 30 and even 32, 33. It can be really hard, I think, to find your place in international development, and so a lot of times people really put their best foot forward and are able to come here and sort of when they're looking to take that international development path and looking to be in the field. Okay, the next question is, how do we apply? So if you visit our website is www.tomorrowsyouth.org, and you can see under our website, under the Join Our Team, there is a link to our Idealist posting. Idealist is it's essentially like a hosting website that lists jobs and internships and things, and we have a posting there for our internship program for the fall. And so you can find out information on there. Essentially, to apply, you need your cover letter and resume, and you will send that application to hr@tomorrowsyouth.org. And no later than July 25th, this Friday, July 25th, is the application deadline. So we're closing applications then. So if this time frame works for you, I really encourage you to apply. The other question, again, no, there's no age limit, so it doesn't matter how old you are. We look more so for experience, a relevant experience. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You're free to apply to the internship program, and we'd be happy to consider your application just as highly as we consider anyone's application. Any other questions? I'll just leave it for me or for Hannah or for Colin about Nablus or anything like that. Please do feel free to write something. We're here to answer your questions. I'll maybe sort of answer a couple of frequently asked questions because I know what sort of things people tend to ask. A lot of times people ask us, what do we think how do we know that the work that we're doing on the ground is working? How do we know that there's any benefit to what we're doing? Because we are short-term intervention, and so sometimes, especially for an intern, they're only in our center for a short period of time. So how do they know that the work that they're doing or what they're teaching children is of benefit? We do a really thorough monitoring and evaluation process that our interns are really part of in recording. So we do a lot of pre and post assessments and interns for all of our programs. And then there's also a series of weekly reporting. So every week they'll report on the progress of their students, and working with the intern coordinator as well as with the psychosocial program manager, who is our family therapist. We really make sure and ensure that we're doing the right things for our beneficiaries. At the end of the program, we then evaluate how beneficiaries were at the beginning and how they were at the end of the program. We see where there was improvement. We see where there was any potentially regression. and then we then transform our programs for the next session, and we make adjustments accordingly. A lot of it is very psychosocial based, so a lot of it is seeing children's psychosocial skills and seeing a change in that or a progression in that. The next question I see is, during your internship, what were your biggest challenge? What was your biggest challenge? I'll let you two answer that, and I can answer too if I,
I'll answer first because then I actually have to head back to work. But I think one of my biggest challenges was obviously seeing children that are coming to the center and not always knowing exactly how to appropriately respond, to challenges that they're going through. But I think that's the real benefit, as Tala was saying, of having a psychosocial specialist on staff full-time. So Suhad was incredibly helpful with really helping me learn how to work with children and also with women who have been through a lot of trauma, and being able to support them as they grow and develop. So I think that was a challenge, but also a blessing to have somebody on staff who was really able to help.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah, I think one challenge is, a lot of these kids have really difficult lives, and they come to the center having seen some pretty bad things at an age you should never have to see those things at. And that manifests in ways when, you're a teacher, right? And so your basic interest is the kids are listening and doing what you ask.
Sorry, Colin. We're just going to say bye to Hannah. Bye, Hannah. Thank you so much. Sorry.
No worries.
All right.
So obviously you're teaching and you have a lesson plan and you're trying to get through your lessons and you want the kids to keep quiet at certain moments or whatever, but they could be coming from pretty dark things at home or the night before or other things, and you might catch yourself being frustrated because the kid's misbehaving and whatnot, and then I think the kind of moment of reflection that you have to do quite frequently out there on what these kids are living with, that can be really hard to deal with, and it manifests in different ways. Even when I first started working with the 14, 15-year-old boys, I had these volunteers from An Najah, and they all wanted to quit before we even started because they were scared of these kids, and they didn't think you could do anything for them, and they didn't want to even work on it, because I think resilience is a thing that gets trained in you. It's not something you have or don't have. It gets reinforced by good habits and dealing with tough times, with having a support network help you deal with rough times. And a lot of these guys haven't had that, obviously. So when things get rough, they don't necessarily have the tendency to stay strong with it. So I think you can also help people with that, because that's something I had my whole life, and it makes a difference today. And that's a function of community and support you have growing up, and I think you can help provide that for other people.
Great. I'm going to actually just here in the chat box send you guys the link for TYO's website. It should be right there, and you can just copy that link and under the About section, join our team. I'll also send you guys the link to the internship posting so that you guys can apply if you're interested, or if you know someone who might be interested in this internship, you can send it their way. Again, the application deadline is this Friday, so try and get your applications in on time. And it doesn't look like there are any other questions, so I think Colin and I will head out. But thank you guys so much for listening about TYO. We really, believe in the work that we do is definitely changing the lives of people on the ground. The internship program is a really fantastic experience and a really great chance for you or someone to be able to learn about what it means to be a child in Nablus and what it means to be growing up in Palestine. It's not a place that's very much fit for childhood. It's very much challenging. So thank you so much. If you are interested in donating to TYO or making a donation, you can do so either on our website or here through Vonvo, here in the top right-hand corner where it says donate. So, we encourage you to. It really helps us continue the work that we do as a nonprofit organization. All right, well, thank you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing all of your internship applications. And thank you, Colin, for taking time out of your day to do this.
No problem. Take care, guys.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.